Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Death of the Modern Hero. My name is Jason Lindgren. I am your host, and with me is my co-host Wayne McCroy.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Death of the Modern Hero. We're going to be exploring many avenues of thought within the entertainment culture, especially as it pertains to the science fiction and/or fantasy genre, of which Jason and I are both huge fans. So that's what we're going to be talking about primarily. And tonight we're touching upon a couple of things that are going on with the Doctor Who franchise. So welcome to the show, everyone. This is our maiden voyage here on Death of the Modern Hero. Jason and I are known primarily for other things that we do, but this is a new venture for us, and we're hoping to get as many people on board here as possible. So, welcome.
So it was announced today that the new actor who's going to be taking over the lead role of Doctor Who was put out in a very kind of blasé way. Usually they do it with a big fanfare and all that kind of thing, and today they just kind of did it with a whimper, as a lot of people have noticed. But Doctor Who is one of my favorite programs, at least it used to be. The original classic show was huge for me in my childhood. Wayne used to watch it with me because Wayne and I are old friends. We used to really dig, especially the John Pertwee and Tom Baker episodes, as well as Peter Davison when he took over and all that, because we're that old. And it's just not the same show. So we're going to be touching on a lot of this whole social engineering nonsense that's been going on in these entertainment properties. And Doctor Who has gotten some of the worst of it, without a doubt. I mean, they absolutely have taken the concepts and characters and all that and just literally injected this insane modern crap into it. And they've suffered for it in a massive way. From all accounts that most people can find, they have lost 75% of the original fan base. Needless to say, whatever they've been doing to do that, well, that was a huge failure, right? I mean, you lose 75% of your fan base, you better do something to get it back, or else it's gone forever. And unfortunately, a lot of times, once you do lose a fan base, they've just moved on to other things because they're done. What they loved about whatever the particular franchise or intellectual property is or was, they just don't relate anymore, and they just don't care. So that's kind of where Doctor Who is at right now. Now, with that being said, it seemed like the powers that be that are around Doctor Who cared enough because they brought back the producer slash main writer who did the revival in 2005 and made it a worldwide success, and that's a man named Russell T Davies. And he cast the very excellent Christopher Eccleston for season 1, and then brought in one of the most popular doctors ever, probably only second to Tom Baker, and some people would argue just as much, and that would be David Tennant. So years go by, quite a few years, and a different writer comes in, two writers later, I should say, and they decide to go all what they call woke. And they decided to turn the Doctor into a female. Some people didn't have a problem with this, but I knew what was going on, as did you, Wayne. You actually wrote an excellent PDF article that you gave to me about all this, with all the symbolism and all the crazy stuff that was all laced through it. I mean, it was obvious what was going on here. This was a social engineering agenda. They're taking what was and trying to destroy it and shove a whole bunch of identity politics and other crap down people's throats. So, yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Anything you want to comment on that before I keep going?
It's essentially just the whole get woke, go broke concept in coming into full fruition for the Doctor Who franchise. I think the BBC's hemorrhaging money at this point with the whole Doctor Who thing. It's a sad thing to see because we did grow up watching the original Doctor Who, and I was particularly fond of Tom Baker and Peter Davison shortly after him. Those two doctors. But the turn that it took just in the recent years here, it's pretty obvious that there's some kind of a social agenda at play here, more so than actually wanting to continue the tradition of the show. So that being said, they've taken some good science fiction writing and they've kind of thrown it down the crapper the past couple of years, and now they're scrambling to try to salvage what remains. And I don't know if they're making the best choices in doing so right now. I mean, it looked like for a little while there, they were starting to go back to another direction by picking up the writer from the past that had done so well for them. And they were talking about maybe getting some other actor to play the Doctor that would fit the role that the fans would have liked. And they were talking about a couple different individuals there. But at the end of the day, none of those individuals that were being rumored to be coming on board with this were the ones that got picked here. And instead, well, you could tell them all about that, Jason. I'll give it back to you because you're a bigger fan of the show than I am.
Yeah, and I'm not anymore. Just of the classics at this point, I've kind of written the show off. And the reason why we're addressing it now is because it's clearly nothing but social engineering agendas at work here. I mean, it really is. And what I'm going to say is no slight against anybody. Now, I do dislike the actress that they chose because of her attitude and her actions that she took right out of the gate. She was very rude. She was incredibly just over the top attacking the old school fan base. And
right, and we see a lot of that. We see a lot of that in many of these regards. Same thing happened with Brie Larson, with the Captain Marvel movie. Like, she was over the top, like just blatantly insulting the fans. I mean, you don't want to denigrate your fan base. I mean, come on, it's not a good thing to do. And Jodie Whittaker, unfortunately, maybe not to the same degree as Brie Larson, but she kind of took on that same kind of attitude towards the fan base. And you see how they got a little bit of backlash from that because I think they're at their lowest ratings they've ever had.
Yes.
Like ever.
They are literally down to 75%. They're down 75%.
Yeah, that's
it's quite obvious that something is dreadfully wrong. Now, we've spoken so many times about whether money is relevant and all that. It seems like it still is to some point, or they wouldn't be doing things like that. So, in my opinion, before I move on to what they announced today, the reason why we're doing a live stream today is because they did announce today who the next actor is going to be. In my opinion, and I think, Wayne, you probably share pretty much the same point of view, if you were really concerned about getting that fan base back, what I think you should have done was gone right back to tradition, said, nope, we're going to fix this. We're going to get right back to the way this show was. We're going to give you good writing. We're going to give you the right actor, the best actor we could get, all that kind of thing. And let's be blunt here. The Doctor was traditionally played by a white British male. That is what people associate with Doctor Who.
Right, and there's nothing wrong with that being the case, and I think so much of Hollywood these days has tried to step away from that and more towards inclusivity and diversity, and in so doing, they've taken roles that were traditionally played by other typecasts per se, like the Doctor, for instance, was always played by a white male British gentleman, and they've typecast these and switched the roles into roles that hadn't been done before, all in the name of diversity, right? And there's nothing wrong with diversity or inclusivity. Don't get me wrong with that. But it's, if you want to do that, how about write a new character for the show?
Exactly.
Right? That maybe steps in and do something interesting with that. Make some kind of a character arc rather than trying to capture the magic of the past and throw a whole new facade on it and try to make it work when it clearly is not going to work. It's the same thing. It would be like rewriting Superman as well. I mean, they've done that. Supergirl, Superwoman, but these were different characters, though, right? This was not Clark Kent. It was not the same person. So, see, I mean, you could do that in a successful way, but you don't want to replace a known commodity, a known character like this, with something that they're not, and then try and convince the people that this is the character, when it's clearly not. And not to take anything away from Jodie Whittaker, I think she did her best with the show, but the fan base just wasn't there. They weren't bought into it. They weren't on board with the whole situation because a lot of these fans of these type of shows, like you and I, were just tired of them writing in whatever social issues of the day happen to crop up into the storytelling when it's not necessary. I mean, if you want to put that stuff in there, you could do it in more subtle ways. You don't go gender swapping your main characters just because, right? Just because inclusivity, diversity. That doesn't make sense, and it doesn't hold up well for them.
So, who did they announce today? I'm going to pull up a bit of the article. The BBC has today announced Ncuti Gatwa is the new Doctor set to take charge of the TARDIS. Star of stage and screen, Ncuti is best known for his critically acclaimed performance in a show called Sex Education as the iconic Eric Effiong. I'm not familiar with the show at all. Sorry if I'm getting these names wrong. For which he was awarded Best Actor award at the Scottish BAFTAs in 2020, as well as numerous nominations, including Best Male Performance in a Comedy Program at this year's BAFTAs. So, this individual he's black. He is Rwandan and Scottish, I believe is what they said. Or he's Scottish but is of Rwandan descent or something to that effect. As you can tell by his name, it certainly doesn't sound very British. And although he's not openly admitted to be gay, this character that he's most known for is super flamboyantly gay. And he comes off very effeminate, and I'd be surprised if he wasn't gay. Not that I have anything against black people or gay people, but again, as we were saying, if you really wanted to get trust back from all the fans, from all that you've lost in the past 5 years, in my opinion, this was the wrong choice. Just absolutely the wrong choice. It doesn't matter if he's the most stellar actor on planet Earth. I don't think you made the right choice. You're doing woke, bold, diverse, inclusive, all that same crap all over again.
Right,
sorry, I think you made the wrong choice, and I don't think you're getting the fan base back.
Right, and that's the thing. I mean, at this point, they've lost so much of the fan base. Maybe they just don't care. Maybe they think this is a way to get new people interested in the show instead. But, my understanding was the reason they shifted gears is because they had lost so much of their audience, and now they were looking to try to get back to bringing the fan base back in. But they have so many issues with the show to fix now at this point. I don't know if it's going to matter, and especially now since they chose this gentleman as the new actor for the part of the Doctor. Once again, one that doesn't fit the traditional role. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having inclusivity and diversity. I mean, we can't say that enough. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But include it in the story in another way. You know what I mean? Instead
Right.
of just retconning the main character into something that the main character never was. This just doesn't fly, and it doesn't fly with the fan base. So ostensibly, if they wanted to get the fan base back, they would have tried to stick to the original script, so to say. Not necessarily the script, but the original plan, okay? The original concepts that worked together and made the show successful. They're changing up the formula again. They don't seem to have really learned their lesson. And, I hope we're wrong about this, and this guy gives a stellar performance and really portrays the role well. But let's face it, with their track record the past couple of years, we're not expecting that, are we, Jason?
No,
So,
even bringing back the former producer writer. And let's also be honest about something else here. This is almost 20 years later that this gentleman's coming back to helm this show. He's like 60 years old now. Does he still have the writing prowess he had when he was 40-ish? I don't know, but you're literally trying to recapture lightning in a bottle, and you're not even following the formula of what made the show popular to begin with. So I'm coming out of the gate saying this is a very, very bad idea. And I know already that the people who have already mentioned about this feel the same way. This is not what we were looking for. This is not a very good idea. And let's just be honest here. Wayne, is this more social engineering agenda at work here?
Oh, no doubt in my mind, Jason. No doubt at all. That's the bottom line with a lot of these choices that are made in these productions anymore. You can see, it's all about pushing certain agendas, right? It's more about that than making money at this point, it would seem. And it doesn't seem logical. It defies reason to think that a program like this, one that's been around for over 50 years now, it's been on for a long, long time. It's a classic, right? And it's one of the most revered science fiction programs out there. So, why would you take something like that and flush it down the crapper and then turn around and to ostensibly try to salvage what remains of it to gain back the fan base and then turn around and do the same stuff again? It just defies logic and reason if you're trying to, first of all, make back money, or second of all, to recapture some of the magic of the original series and maybe win over some new fans. It's not going to work in my view. I don't think they've made the right choices here. We have seen now the past couple of years the results of a lot of this woke garbage that they put out there, haven't we?
Yeah.
You see what happens at the box office with the movies. You see what happens with the television ratings. So why would you repeat that same formula again? Now, I understand you want to give new people chances at maybe pushing forward some new ideas in a certain property or franchise like this, and that's fine. But you don't take the main character and switch them around like this into something that they never traditionally were. If you want to include more diverse groups within the stories, as long as they're tastefully written in there and it's not over the top, hitting you over the head, with the acceptance of all of this social engineering of sorts, that's fine. I mean, you could do that stuff in subtle ways. If you want to put in some kind of save the world message or something in there, go for it. But do it in a more subtle way. You don't have to beat the fans over the head with the message at the expense of alienating the audience from the show and taking away what they really loved about the show. So I think they still have some lessons to learn here in that regard, especially as it pertains to this show right now.
Right. And I don't really know how much more we can go on about this. I just kind of wanted to put it out there as a thought that if indeed they're trying to get back the old fan base, I just thought that it might be a smart thing to mention that you have gone away from what was wanted, what was traditionally accepted. I don't know how much we can say the same thing over and over again. We keep seeing failure after failure after failure when you deviate from what it is that the fans want. And if you don't give the fans what they want, you're not going to get them to accept your property. You might get a small amount. Some people are very flexible and are okay. I personally don't accept this gender fluidity that they've written into the show. And then in the last couple of years, they've written in major retcons on top of that, which it's not even the same program anymore. If that's still considered part of the overall canon of the show's over. Just watch the original and accept that as its own program, and because that's stuck to its own continuity fairly well, and just leave it at that because, man, what they've done to it in the past couple of years is literally disgusting. Like, they've flushed it entirely down the toilet. And it started with the gender fluidity stuff. And in the old show, in the traditional show, the classic show from 63 to 89, Time Lords, the male Time Lords, regenerated into other male Time Lords. The Time Ladies, the female Time Ladies, regenerated into other female Time Ladies. There was no back and forth. This did not happen. We never saw this on screen. It was never discussed that there is gender fluidity. And quite honestly, that's a little weird in my book. It just, from a psychological point of view, I think that would really throw somebody off if you tried to look at it from like, oh, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm a boy, I'm a girl. No, just leave things alone. Just leave it all alone.
Right, and they had a successful formula with the first run of this, so why would you deviate from that? I understand times change and, these different problems and issues of the times change, but you could approach those in a different way, like we had discussed earlier. There's no sense in swapping around your main characters just for the sake of doing so, and that's exactly what's been done here. And I don't think it's ended well for them. I think that the drop of their audience by 75% is proof of that.
Yeah.
If they're going into damage control mode now, as we thought at first they were, because they're trying to get back some of the original magic that had gone on here, then that's a step in the right direction. But clearly, they have other things in mind still. They haven't learned their lesson. And, we could see by the choice that they made here for who they want to play the Doctor going forward. We're going to see. I don't want to make predictions on this. Let's just watch and see what happens. But I could assure you, it's probably going in that same gender fluidity type notion
Yeah.
direction here. I would think that would probably be the case, just based upon everything that they've been doing the past couple of years here. It's just a shifting, if you will, of the window a little bit further along the track here of what they're looking for acceptable social norms, and that's exactly what they use this type of a property to do. So we'll see how the fan base reacts to it. I don't think they're going to get the reaction from the fan base they want. And I don't understand why they don't get this. Do they not do demographics of who their audience is? Like, think about
They
that.
know. They just don't
so-
care, which is what's so interesting about
Right.
this. Like, they do know. Like, they have these ratings. They know. And in America, where this show was massive during the time of David Tennant and Matt Smith, the following actor, it's down to a tiny percentage now. So the show's over. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said on a Secrets of Saturn live stream, that if you're trying to, let's be blunt, manipulate people with the entertainment properties that you're shoving at them, if you do things to turn off the vast majority of people, you're not going to get your programming out there. So I say you lose anybody who's behind this stuff. If you want to get your diversion and inclusivity in there, you need to do it in a different way. You can't take an old property, jack it all over, and then expect everyone to just be like, okay, I'll accept this. And I can tell you for a fact that the merchandising rights, since they changed to Lady Who, crashed and burned. Nobody wants it. The companies have outright admitted that this stuff does not sell. Nobody wants it. Done and over with. Now you're going to bring in a flamboyant black guy. Is it really going to be that much different?
Merchandising.
Is it going to be that much different? I am going to go on record that I don't think this is going to be successful. We'll see.
I don't think so either, especially as it pertains to the merchandising. That's where all
Merchandising.
the money's really made. Merchandising. Spaceballs the flamethrower. So, they're not getting any merchandising, are they, from Doctor Who? I don't think
They're not.
That's the thing I don't understand, too. I mean, they could make so much secondary income just from merchandising and stuff if they were to do this well.
Doctor Who was a cash cow
so-
in the what would that have been? 2005 to about 2010-ish, 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. They were making bank off of this property. And right after that, the actor they brought in after Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, the older actor, fantastic actor, terrible writing. And that's when you really started seeing the social engineering nonsense coming in with the gender fluidity crap, and that's where they started injecting it right from his first episode. And I knew it was over right then. Even though we had a great doctor, the show was crap. I knew it. I knew it was going to go down from there. And then when they brought in the girl, the lady, done, over with.
Yep.
So
Yep, they were greasing the skids for it there.
They
That's
really
how
were. And I know
used
this is a big BBC
stuff.
thing. They put their diversity inclusion rules out several years back, like before this Doctor Who stuff came around. So we knew it was coming if you knew where to look. Like they said outright what they were going to do. And it is what it is. So if they want to make money, this was not the right way to go. It doesn't matter. And it's not a thing against this actor, this young actor. He might be amazing. Doesn't look like traditional Doctor Who. And if I was running Doctor Who, and I'm not qualified to run Doctor Who, but in my opinion, what you are trying to do is you are trying to find an actor as good or better than Tom Baker. Why? Because that Doctor Who is associated with the tall guy with the curly hair and the long-ass scarf. That is what the average person associates with Doctor Who, is Tom Baker. Every single thing you do to deviate away from that hurts your capability to get attention. Now, obviously, Tom Baker's like pushing 90, so they can't use him anymore. But you should be casting somebody, and they pulled it off with David Tennant. They found somebody who had that magic charisma. They did it. They pulled it off. So now in the current era, you should be trying to find the next David Tennant. You have failed completely and utterly for years now. I don't know what else to say about it.
Right.
This wasn't meant to be a 2-hour live stream complaining about all this stuff. I just wanted to go on the record and say, hey, this is what they're doing. This looks like another huge mistake, even if they've got a great writer and even if he's capable of still producing great shows. You've lost so many people and you've done so much damage in the past couple of years that I don't think you're getting them back. I think you might get some eyes to look at it in a few years when this stuff comes out, because it's not supposed to come out till later in 2023. But I don't think you're getting them back. I don't think you made the right choice, and that's my opinion. That's my thoughts. And if you succeed, well, good for you. But as of right now, looking at how much stuff is in the toilet, I just don't see it happening. And we could probably sign off here, Wayne. We don't need to be on here all night harping on the same thing. But is there anything else you want to say about all this before we go?
I would just like to close with, let's look at it and be honest about it, okay? Your average fan of this series probably is of the same mindset and opinion as the two of us. So that being the case, you're making this notion that you were going to try to go back to what was successful about the show, try to remake the show once again and get that old success back, and maybe try to win back the fan base. Well, the fan base is going to see who you chose as the lead actor now to play the part of the Doctor, and they're going to look at that, and they're going to have the same reaction that the two of us just had. They're going to look and they're going to say, no, that's not what we would associate with the Doctor. That's not, somebody that has that same type of charisma or appeal as a Tom Baker or a David Tennant. They don't have the look. It doesn't have the right feel. It's not the character that we associate with this. So the vast majority of them probably won't even tune in based upon all the damage that's been done to the series the past few years. So I don't think it's going to succeed. I mean, I sincerely hope I'm wrong and that, maybe this guy is a great actor and maybe he'll play the part really well and maybe they'll have good writing and, maybe the fan base will tune back in. But I don't think that's really likely based upon what we've seen the past few years and the sheer drop in the percentage of the fan base that's still there. It just does not look promising for these guys. Sorry, I think you guys messed up over there at the BBC once again. But only time will tell. I mean, we're just a couple of nerds sitting here analyzing this stuff. Maybe you guys know something we don't. So best of luck to you. But if it's going to be the same woke garbage that you've produced the past couple of years, don't plan on keeping the fan base back. A couple people might come back and check it out just to see if you've learned your lesson, but it's not looking promising at this point. And that's the bottom line. And that's the honest to goodness view of it that you're probably going to get from your average fan out there. So good luck, folks.
Well, I can tell you that's already how it's being viewed. So they're not getting back any of the old school fans, or probably not at least many of them, who are the ones who watch the show, promote the show, and buy your merchandise. If you've turned them off already a year and a half before this guy's even on screen, I don't know what to tell you. You screwed up. I don't care how great this former first producer was. It is what it is. So anyway, we'll see how it unfolds. And if they don't undo the damage of if they don't retcon the retcon from the past 5 years, most fans aren't going to accept it to begin with. So they've got a lot of work to do, and they're keeping quiet now. They announced this dude, and now they're going to stay quiet. That's what they blatantly said. So it's not looking good. In my opinion, and why I titled this live stream what I did, Doctor Who is still dead, folks. It is what it is. Doctor Who is still dead. It's not going to make a difference after Jodie Whittaker leaves the role. The show's over, and that's that. So with that, we will be doing a full 2-hour live stream of this new show, Death of the Modern Hero. The full live stream will be on the hero's journey from the point of view of the Matrix, and we're going to talk about how important the hero's journey is, or some variation of that, to telling a good story. And that's just not what we've been getting. But anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for being here on this little mini live stream, and we'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care.